Is it evening? Yeah, it is. Good afternoon, sorry. You have to forgive me of I'm a little bit emotional. Um, uh, Adalina Bonn, aka Rebecca Wells. Um, a lot of us found out a few weeks ago that she recently passed away. I don't know, all I know is that it was reported on her Facebook and all that she had passed away. And I don't know if it was here in the UK or back home in New Zealand or whatever, but for those of you who don't know, she didn't read tarot exactly. She read like Brian Froud's cards. She was somebody that I had spotted when I was studying tarot cards and looking for um, people to collaborate with in the future when I designed my own tarot cards and, started my business that I was going to build in America when I was originally with Martin. And that's how I discovered her. And, she was incredible. And then I found out she was best friends with San Tarot. So when everything kicked off with San Tarot, she kind of got thrown in on the mix. But bearing in mind that I was being drugged at the time. So I still don't know how that night my son Thomas and I had clocked that my ex was in a relationship with an online relationship with Santaro, but at the time that night, with the cocaine in my system, um, I thought he was talking about Rebecca. I thought the sign what I was picking up on that he was seeing Rebecca, but I thought her name was Katie. I kept calling her Katie that night, but it turns out that the woman he was seeing, as well as at the same time as San, her name was Katie, Katie Hamilton. Um, and I kept referring to this Katie, thinking I was talking about Rebecca. I just knew that he was from everything that I was getting that he was seeing one of them, one of the tarot readers, that he was talking to them because of the 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 things that San was saying in the readings were too personal for her not to know what was going on in my life. Especially when she did that reading where she referred to um, about there being a big bust up in the family and going to stay with the lesbian next door neighbours. That's when I started realising she was being fed information. Some of her readings were getting too personal. And I had said before, it's like they were putting me in situations to make it look like it was predictive, but it was all planned, right? Just like also as well, when I had that email, I sent the email to my ex-best friend Jose, and then 2 days later, Santaro did a reading based on the email that I had sent Jose. Now, I've just listened to this reading. I've put a link in the description box of her talking about how she was targeted for gang stalking and her talking about some of the situations that she went through, which were identical to me. Some slightly different, but some identical. I'll let you watch the video and all of that, but the reason why I'm making this video is because is I started looking into her lupus because I thought, is there a possibility that you can give someone lupus? Now, you don't usually die from lupus. I don't know what she died from, but it's not usually fatal. If it's managed properly, it's not usually fatal. You go on to live a happy, normal life as long as you avoid the pitfalls. It's an autoimmune disease that is connected to, get this, Epstein-Barr virus. the Epstein-Barr virus, the Epstein-Barr virus, which means that it's transferred. I've just put a link in the description box below, through like saliva, kissing. It can be called the kissing virus. It's in the same kind of virus category as like chickenpox and that, from what I understand. And so I just did a little bit of research, and instantly, Gulf War syndrome and Agent Orange. I just looked up chemical warfare and lupus, and there it was. Agent Orange gave the soldiers lupus. A lot of veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange developed lupus. And, remember how they infected, in the reign of Queen Victoria, remember how she lost her Alberts to typhoid? And typhoid was a military experiment that was given to the soldiers in the army. They said to make them immune from the disease, but it ended up wiping out like millions of people. So it looks like lupus was the same thing. Soldiers that were in Gulf War that were exposed to certain chemicals came back with lupus. So lupus is used as a biochemical warfare. They use it for chemical warfare. And now I'm just wondering, did they give her lupus? The thing is, with her gift being the way it was, see, because the thing is, with people like her and I, they can't risk us seeing things they don't want us to see and exposing it. But she was innocent in the fact that she wasn't dealing with the whistleblowing like I was. She wasn't whistleblowing nothing. She wasn't exposing people on the Epstein files. She was just doing readings. But she had everybody supporting her. She had millions of people come out and support her and defend her, whereas I didn't. When I told people the same thing was happening to me, I got called crazy. But now with all of this coming out, it looks like I was right again. And she's risen from the dead to tell her story, to say Debbie's telling the truth, because it happened to me too. And it's really weird because in the beginning of all of this, when I first got locked up, I thought she was the enemy, but it turns out her and I were going through the exact same thing. But she had support and I didn't, because I was a no one. I had no social media presence, because I was just trying to focus on getting to America and building my school by that point. And everyone believed her and no one believed me. And yet here we are. And I kept saying, they were coming after. I mean, I've got more than enough proof now to prove to everyone that they were coming after me. But now her story confirms everything I was saying too. I never ever paid attention to it before until now. And then I thought I'll give it a listen. And then I'm like, hang on a minute. Now that time has passed and I have the toxins sitting in my house ready to be tested in a laboratory, including my own spit and hair samples and photos of my eyes dilated and my pupils dilated and all that sort of thing. I've got the evidence ready to go. I have the evidence that they messed with my email, and she was talking about, strange emails and new emails being messed with, and people reciting word for word conversations she was having with people on the phone and WhatsApp and stuff, and the exact same thing was happening to me. I'd have conversations with somebody on WhatsApp and then it would turn up in Night World, on X. Things that I was talking about in private conversations were ending up on Night World, the one that Musk uses, where they were threatening to kill me on Night World. And so I started looking into it, and the military. It's the military that use chemicals to give people lupus. So they use it as a biochemical weapon, just like they did with typhoid in the Victorian era, and COVID now. But typhoid is a variant of COVID. COVID's been around since the Black Plague. And they've been using chemical warfare since the Greeks. It's just knowing that she's no longer alive, and she was only in her late 30s. It's made me realise how close I came to being in the ground just like her. But the thing is, she wasn't in the thick of the Epstein thing like I was. She wasn't whistleblowing about them putting fetuses in McDonald's like I was. She wasn't whistleblowing on celebrities and politicians and that like I was. She was just innocently doing her readings. But because of the whole Epstein funding of the scientists and trying to employ scientists in that to find the answers to how could people like us know the things we know, and could we turn it into something that CERN could use to contact other realms and blah, 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 their rudimentary understanding of how any of this works is getting scientists killed. But she wasn't a scientist. She wasn't one of us. She was just a normal card reader. And I really, really hope that they didn't give her lupus. I hope they didn't. She mentions in the video about being followed at hospitals, being followed when she's eating in cafes and restaurants, and lupus is passed on. The Epstein-Barr virus is passed on. It can be passed on through saliva. So they could very well have put something, on her spoon, in her food, in her drinks. Very easily they could have done it. And the last time I was poisoned, it was excruciating. My fingertips and toes, my central nervous system was on fire. And my central nervous system, like the pain, the excruciating pain I was getting in my fingers and toes was unreal. And I was sweating profusely. I was wanting to vomit. I could not move because I knew if I stood up I was going to collapse. I knew I was going to pass out. And being here by myself, having no contact with anyone, I thought, who the hell's going to find me? So I messaged my nephew and I said, I think they've done something, Neffy. And I explained the situation. And I said, I just need to document it because if I don't survive, you'll know what happened. And I said, I've left samples. I said, I've left samples. And if they find me, you need to get someone to test these samples because I was fine until I consumed what I consumed. And then within minutes, all hell broke loose. And it took me 7 days. I basically couldn't move for 7 days. I was curled up in the fetal position, sweating profusely. I had to change my bedding because like my bedroom stunk of sweat because I was just sweating, sweating, sweating. I was just trying to flush it out of my system, drinking, drinking, drinking as much as I could. Took photos of my dilated pupils and took spit samples. And I just said to my nephew, if I don't make it, this is where they'll find the samples. Because I don't go out. Because I was told in 2023 that I was a target for attack if I went out onto the street. Um, you know the victim of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates in Florida. Remember, she took them to court and sued them. Um, she was threatened with being hit by a car as well. They wanted to make, like with Nikola Tesla, make it look like an accident, hit them with the car. And so I always stick to one side of the road when I go out, but I just try not to go out. Um, so now I'm just wondering, did she get lupus or was she given lupus? And why? Because she wasn't a threat. She wasn't getting involved in anything like I was getting involved in. All I can think is because she was connected to Santaro and Chris and Martin and Nikki and Rocio and all of that, she was targeted because of who she was involved with, and they couldn't risk her saying anything in her readings or in her little private groups, just in case, So talking about the Bentleys and dressing like Windsors, just listen to her message, and she's using code words that are indicative of everything I've been saying, especially in the fact that, the Secret Service, the government, the military, America, are targeting the royal family. They called one of the fake accounts called themselves Lizzie or Elizabeth, talking about the Windsors. And we're talking about chemical warfare, and that's how they killed Queen Elizabeth. It's how they killed both Elizabeths, the Queen Mother, King George, the Alberts. And she was being watched while she was eating food. And this Agent Orange, this chemical that they use to give you lupus, is most commonly passed around through saliva. So I'm just putting it out there because she shouldn't be, I think she wouldn't have even been 40. She would have been about, what, 38-ish? 39. I don't think she was even 40. And now she's no longer here. And if you used to watch her, she was getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And I looked into it when I found out she died. And lupus shouldn't kill you. You can live a normal life with lupus if you get the treatment. And she talked constantly about her hospital appointments and her medication and her treatment and her vitamins and having her blood tests and all of that. So she was on it. So what on earth happened to her? And I just, after listening to what she was saying, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it before, but I never paid it any attention. It wouldn't have hit me all those years ago like it did now, because all those years ago, if I saw that video, it wouldn't, like, I wouldn't have gone, wouldn't have gone down the royal family rabbit hole after Queen Elizabeth died and all of that. So it wouldn't have made sense then like it does now. And it's just made me realise how close I came. Four attempts on my life. And very similar circumstances to what happened to her. When she talked about the influx of fake subscribers, I've got an influx of, I just got this influx of fake subscribers. Most of my subscribers are hidden subscribers, but I've got 7 or 8 fake Yodok cellos. You can't unsubscribe your followers though on YouTube, like you can with Instagram and X. I was followed, I mean, the amount of fake accounts I blocked on X, the amount of people trying to get personal information out of me, pretending to be friends, like what she was saying, and people, certain people on social media, word for word, repeating things that I was saying in private conversations. The Dear Satan cause, even though I put that out there and I put some of that stuff out there, some of the things that were put in that movie were in private conversations that I never made public when I was throwing the idea around to certain people. I've even got screenshots that I've reposted on various things where I was contacted by the Illuminati saying, we want you to, like, can we talk to you? We think you'd be good in our organisation. And I told them to get stuffed. The fake adulation, it's like she said, your intuition knows these things. And I knew in talking to some of these people that it wasn't all what they seem. And that's why I don't answer the phone to anyone. If my phone rings, I don't answer it, because I'm getting an influx of phone calls that are coming from companies where you hire fake phone numbers. Germany and Ireland recently, it's all there. And when you look it up, and it, when you do the reverse thing of the number, and it'll say this number has come from a company that basically rents out phone numbers. But because of everything that happened with Rocio and the army hacking my phone from the, was it Gerstadt, army base in Germany, and it doing the soundbite of my voice playing back to me, and then after that my phone started playing up and the battery would drain to the point where I couldn't even charge it anymore. And, it was becoming impossible for me to upload videos because it was taking so long, because my internet was slowed all the way down. And, I've told you all, I don't answer my phone if I'm not expecting your phone call, because weird things started happening. And then, because the stuff that was happening with my bank, and then all of a sudden, all of my, I put up screenshots to show you, all of my Gmail contacts suddenly became, this account no longer exists. This email no longer exists, like for hundreds of people that I had regular contact with through, my WordPress and back in the day, and now hundreds of these email addresses suddenly don't exist anymore. So I know what she's talking about, except I survived. And now I'm starting to think, did they remove her from the equation like they tried to remove me? But if they did, they targeted the wrong person, because she had nothing to do with anything that I was involved in. I can understand why I'd be a threat to presidents and prime ministers and the Secret Service and the military and all that, because I put it all out there. I whistleblow and I say pedophile, child groomer, trafficker. But she wasn't involved in that world. But she was involved in that world with the same people who were involved in my world. Nikki and Rocio and Santaro, she knew all of them, because they went to her. They knew I was watching her. They knew I was planning to invite her to work with my tarot deck that my ex-husband was actually going to get paid to do the art for. And Nikki, we used to sit and discuss her when she'd upload videos. We'd sit in class and we'd discuss her readings, because I was trying to figure out how the quantum magnetics worked. And I was asking the question, do we see what's coming, or do we manifest what's coming? And so I was watching her as one of my case studies. And it was through her that the whole Santaro thing started dropping into my lap. And when I started watching Santaro, there was something just not right about her. And so I thought, keep watching. And then when I realised she's been fed information and she's a fraud, and I whistle blew, it was 2 days later, I ended up with my cocaine being spiked, my pizza being spiked with cocaine, and that weed being laced with opioids. And then I was locked up. And I still don't know how I knew that he was seeing a woman called Katie. But it's documented. It's also documented that Santaro admitted having a relationship with him. And when I blew the whistle and said I need to take this to the police, because I've got a copy of the police report from Chris's statement to the police where he said, I'm not seeing anyone. I don't know who Santaro is, and I'm not seeing anyone called Katie. Well, after I was locked up, he introduced my boys to the woman called Katie. And I was like, how did I know her name was Katie? And it's documented in the police report. So he committed perjury to cover his ass. And then Sam comes out and says, Chris he's not who people think he is. He's not the monster that you're all thinking he is, which means that because I was whistleblowing and drawing attention to the tarot world through Instagram and that, obviously people were coming to her and saying, what the hell's going on? Because I was naming her next to him, saying, my ex is having a relationship with San and this, that and the other, Nikki, Rocio, Rhea, blah, blah, blah. They went to them and said, don't go to her. If she comes to you and wants to work with you, she's this, she's that, the other. because they wanted to take over my world. They wanted to usurp my world. They wanted to be what I am, but they'll never be what I am. No one can be what I am. And if they can't get you on their side, you're a risk. So they try to remove you from the equation, just like the whole Anne Widdecombe thing. If you're a threat to their agenda, they'll do whatever, but because they're cowards, they try and do it slyly. They try and do it under the radar and very slowly so you don't detect what's going on. And they love using chemicals, biochemical weaponry. And now, since I got locked up and then the Queen died and everything, and I started having those dreams, and I started investigating the dreams, and then I fell down the rabbit hole of them trying to murder the monarchy, and then now she's come out and said that their code names were Lizzie and Windsor and stuff. They've tripped up on their own details. So her video, when you watch it, she's confirming everything that I've been saying this whole time, especially in regards to the royal family. And knowing that she's no longer with us, it's hit me with the reality of, holy crap, how many times have I escaped death because of people connected to Santaro and Christopher Black? There are people dropping dead around them. And we're supposed to pretend like, oh, it's just Debbie being crazy. Well, I don't. If you think I'm crazy, then you need to grow up and get a grip on reality, because it's really happening. And other people are coming out and saying the same thing. So it can't just be me. There are scientists that are vanishing off the face of the earth. There are scientists that are turning up dead. And I'm a scientist. And they're dealing with the same people that I'm whistleblowing on. There are people going missing who are connected to the same people I'm dealing with and whistleblowing on, and people dropping dead who shouldn't be dropping dead. And the dots are all connected to the same people, from the highest echelons to the lowest in the food chain. And it can't be a coincidence that Adalina or Rebecca and I are connected, know the same people. And now she's dead, and she was documenting the same things that were happening to her that I was saying was happening to me, except the only difference is she had support and I didn't. She was believed and I wasn't. Her mother and her family and her friends supported her and believed her, and I wasn't believed. I was locked up because I was the scientist. So you can look at the links in the description box below, but it may very well be that they gave her lupus, even just to slow her down, because remember, she ended up walking away from doing her readings and stuff. Because that's what they do. They want to threaten you to the point where you shut your social media down. Or in my case, they shut my I've lost 2 Facebooks, a WordPress, and 2 Instagrams. Because that's how they threaten you. But until my last breath, I'll keep banging the drum and blowing the whistle. Because I hate pedophiles and child groomers and traffickers and people who turn their backs on it. Or people who know it's going on and do nothing to stop it. I hate those people more than anything in the world. And if I can help Rebecca get justice, just like Anne, just like Erin, the scientist, just like all the scientists. Then it gets me justice too. People would rather pin labels on you don't deserve rather than wake up to the facts of what's right under their noses. And I feel sorry for people like that because they're not living in reality. They're living in the matrix. They'd rather deny the truth than admit what they're seeing right under their noses. And it's people like me and Adalina that get sacrificed. Innocent people getting sacrificed because other people choose not to see the truth that's right under their noses. I would rather live the truth in isolation than live a lie surrounded by people who are masking themselves as dolphins when they're sharks. So if I have to swim alone, I'll swim alone. But I've got my sister, I've got my nephews, and when I get to America, I can start again. I can leave all of this behind me and start again. I've just got to wait for God to take the threat away. And I'm sorry to say that when I leave the United Kingdom, I will not be looking back. After everything I've done for the people of Great Britain, to be treated the way I have is criminal, literally criminal. Because they don't want to admit that someone who is ordinary could be such a threat to people like Keir Starmer and Donald Trump because of what I know, because of what I can do, because I don't play the game. And it's just sad that it's possibly taken Rebecca's life. If she didn't know the same people I knew, she'd still be alive. So all I'm saying is there is a high probability that she didn't get lupus, she was given lupus. And the evidence is in the description box below. Because lupus is a result of Agent Orange and Gulf War syndrome from the chemicals and stuff. You get lupus from the environment and from things like saliva and all of that. So I'm just putting it out there. So I'm going to go now, and I'm going to get back to focusing on my future and getting to New York. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.